on to Proverbs. Proverbs 17:22 is for today's. Again, that's choose your hard, and we're doing mentally hard. Proverbs 17:22, a joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Proverbs 17:22, a joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones.
This is what I love about Proverbs, is you don't even have to be a follower of Jesus, and you can read this and go, yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. This is what it is.
This is a very direct, this is plain English.
Yeah.
You can still totally understand this. This is not Christianese as you'd call it.
Right.
This is just very plain English. It makes a lot of sense.
You hear people say this all the time. Laughter is the best medicine.
Well, there you go.
Right? That's how we say it today in modern day language. But that's just stolen from the Bible, from the book of Proverbs right there. Like you know this, if you lived in this world for very long, like when you're joyful and and you're laughing, you feel good. It releases chemicals in the brain and life is good. And then when you're not, like you can feel the weight of the world on your shoulder. It's dried up bones. I mean, that you couldn't get a clearer picture of how you are mentally feeling when life's struggling, and it's just kicking you down sometimes.
When I think of joyful, I think of like if I think of happy, I think of a fleeting moment. But when I think of joyful, that's how I would describe someone who is continuously, whenever I'm around them, they have joy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a person to feel that, certainly in my own life, so I'll speak for myself as always. In my life, when I'm most joyful, when I'm able to exude joy to others, is when I'm on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Is when I'm on mission. I'm having a purpose-driven intention.
Yeah.
Meaning I feel like things have aligned for me. I've aligned myself rather with the things that I'm good at and the things that I've prepared myself for, and it's purpose-driven.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can feel joy because I'm living out my purpose.
Yeah.
Happiness is fleeting. I used to do drugs and I'd be happy. Cool, got these drugs, I'm happy. But the minute drugs are gone, now I'm not happy anymore.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm miserable. Or I met somebody and boy, they're great. And I'm kind of got a buzz from the person, in fact. But then as the reality of their life kicks in, we see them as James seeing Jesus in their faults. And we go like, and now I'm not joyful anymore. Now I'm not happy anymore, rather.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that happy is like a state of mind for a short period of time, but I think joyful is something that's I think that's intentionally used there because it's a joyful heart. So it's a heart that's just full.
Yeah.
And I feel like to reach that is purpose-driven. And I kind of wrote down here, that's where my mind was. So I started thinking about it. I started doing a little research. Harvard Health Publishing said that people who feel that they have a sense of purpose live longer and have healthier lives. They make more money. They are less likely to be sick. And they reach higher levels of their job. I mean, it was a laundry list of things. Those are the specific ones I wrote down. And it also defines a purpose-filled life. So it says, if you have family and good relationships, if you have a community, if you are helping others, okay, yeah, you must have something along these lines. If you're learning new skills,
mm-hmm.
And taking part in leisure activities or hobbies. So those skills that you're learning, those then become your hobbies, and you take those. That's kind of purpose.
Yeah.
Because then when you're think about it. When you and I first started going fishing, we were joyful. We'd be out we still do, by the way. When we go out on the boat, it's joy. We're just, the whole time we're just big smiling goofballs. Yeah. The next one's a couple of weeks away. That's purpose.
Yeah.
It's a part of the purpose.
Yes, it is.
Doing this podcast brings me a lot of joy. It fills my heart with joy. I talk to other people about it. It overflows from me. That joy does,
mm-hmm.
because I'm excited about it. I really think that the way we intentionally go about this job to honor God, it brings me a lot of joy because it's really the only place in my life where I'm afforded this kind of opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm not a preacher. I don't have some theological background in anything, and I don't come from the church. So this is really a place where, as a musician, as somebody that kind of knows some things about microphones and about how to run programs on computers to record, I kind of naturally fit into here. And it was like, oh, thanks, God. And then, you and I start talking about it, and it's like, man, God's really kind of taken over. Let's just let him completely take over. And now he's using both of our skill sets because you actually have studied a little more of this theological stuff. You've done more work on that end of things, but I bring this other end of things. And now here we are, like, I'm trying to catch up to your stuff, but in fact, you're learning some of the other stuff on the other end.
This is the fun part of it, man. This is what we've talked about. Like, our mantra is rescued and redeemed.
Yeah.
When we think about joy, Jamie Foxx just did this whole thing on Netflix, and it was really interesting. He's like, all he was doing was just talking about God and how God changed his life, and then he thanked God for his stroke. Because he was in the hospital for a long time and he had a stroke.
Yeah.
And he was thanking God for that stroke. And I think that's when you have God in your life, you can go through those hard things, like those hard mental things. Yep. And on the other side of it, this is the joyous part of it. Like, you can look at a trial like that. Anybody else would be like, thank God for the stroke. Mm-hmm. Why would you ever thank God for that?
Right.
And it's because God used that stroke to mentally sharpen him, to make him more focused, to make him a better tool, to make him more aware of what he does, the roles that he plays, the voice that he has.
It's a great opportunity that he has.
It's amazing.
How much better do you feel after you've been sick? How grateful are you to feel good? When you finally make it back to the gym, maybe you start working out and you can actually, you're not winded. After you've been really sick, if you had the flu or something like that.
Man, I remember like when I had COVID, man, and I had that mental fog and I just couldn't do anything and I was just sweating and just sick. And then
whenever you didn't feel that,
when
it's
I finally
like,
woke
how
up
do I
that day
bottle
where
this?
I was like, I'm back.
Yeah, let me bottle this up and become the most richest guy on the planet.
Yeah.
This feeling inside of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. I didn't know that about Jamie Foxx.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was pretty cool.
Most talented guy of our generation, maybe. Guy's
just
amazingly
acting,
talented.
Singing,
he's a
comedy.
Yes. Yo, what was that? In Living Color?
Oh my goodness.
He was Wanda? Was that girl's name?
LaWanda.
LaWanda? Is that what it was? Oh my gosh. He'd flip his lips out. He cross-eyed his. Oh my gosh.
I was going to say LaFonda, but that's Napoleon Dynamite. That's a different one.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That was a funny character. That was a great show. It spawned like Jim Carrey. That show spawned everybody.
Spawned a lot of people.
Yeah.
The
Wayans.
Jennifer Lopez.
Oh yeah, that's right. She was
one of the dancers.
Puff Daddy.
Yeah.
Speaking of.
Oh.
Yeah, the other side of things. Jeez, Puff. Puff, you got to sit down to pee in there, buddy. Sorry, pal. Ezekiel, the other side of that.
Well done.
But a crushed spirit dries up the bones was the second side of this Proverbs 17:22. And in Ezekiel 37, it's the valley of dry bones. What are those?
Yeah,
those are non-living creatures.
Yeah, God called Ezekiel out there, and he called the dry bones to come back to life again.
Right.
What a cool story. It's that whole song, the song Rattle.
Yeah.
That's what that whole piece is about.
Yes, sure. Prior to God breathing on those bones, they're nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He walks in there, and it's got to be a nightmare escape. And instead, God then flips that around. We can go into that next piece of how it's symbolism for what he does for us when we are the dry bones. Mm-hmm. But the point of this proverb, it's contrasting a joyful healthiness that God wants to give you this. If you're following him and you're listening to his word and you're spending daily time with it and you're communing with him in relationship, you will have a joyful heart.
You will.
Not every second of every day, by the way.
Of course not. That's not realistic. But what it does allow you to do is when times are hard, it allows you to just keep your focus, having a joyful heart, because on the other side of it, like Pastor Mike says all the time, good is ahead. The reason why he says good is ahead isn't necessarily on this side of things. Is like we have to have this eternal mindset. And so when you start to have the eternal mindset, that's what allows us to have joy. Now, to bring us back to was you start